Here's how you basically make games from a mindset perspective. So I made 3 games so far, released on Steam at least. I've made more games than that, but on Steam, 3 games. And I'm a full-time game dev. I do this as my day job, so it's pretty cool. And that's basically my qualifications why you should be listening to me and not just going like, who are you? What do you know? So first, first thing I would do if I was starting over, I forgot everything about game dev. Somehow I got into a car crash. I would just learn the basics for 1 to 2 months. Now I have a community where we make games for charity. That would be a great place to learn that. You basically would need to learn Blender and some basic Unity stuff. Not that in depth, just like how to program and 3D model, and then you're mostly good. Now you just make tiny projects like copying mobile games and like arcade games for this. Like you don't actually want to design something yet because that can very quickly get out of hand and you're like, oh, but this is going to be the next big thing, and then you're just 2 years into this project that you don't like anymore, but it's almost done, and you're like, oh, but like it could be so good, and then you get into this rabbit hole, and that's no good. You want to steer clear of the rabbit hole, especially as a beginner, because it can go so wrong and you can just get stuck in this and you'll never want to make a game after it again. So that's the big warning. But you can also do super well. Like I have been doing this for like 1 to 2 years now, seriously. Before then, I think I had like half a year of total experience in game development before I started really going at it. So if you just learn for 1 or 2 months for like a couple hours a day, you should be good in like 1 to 2 months to make your first game that you're actually going to release on Steam. So one quick thing before you plan what you're going to release on Steam, you have to watch that one How to Market a Game talk from Chris, Polish name, I think. I think his name is Polish, his last name. But he's this game marketing guy, and I love him. He's great. He has like really good advice. And there's this talk from him on YouTube. If you just look How to Market a Game, I might link it in the description. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it since I have some YouTube blogs in order to not waste my time, basically. But I'll try to find that and link in the description. I should be able to find it in Google, actually. It should be good. It should be down there. So check that talk out. It's like an hour long and it will save you so much hassle because it just tells you basically all you need to know about marketing. Alternatively, if you prefer reading, he also has an ebook, which you can get by signing up to his mailing list, which is actually pretty cool. He gives like really good blog posts, really in-depth stuff. It's not like spammy at all. It's like once a week you get an email with some cool shit in it. It's awesome. So check that out as well if you prefer reading stuff. And he's a great blog too. I love that guy. I'm not affiliated with him. I just love him. So that's a really big one because basically the thing you really need to know from that is genre is super important. Marketing is less important than you think. And it's mainly just about picking a genre that Steam actually likes and making a game that's like potentially good. Like a platformer, for example, very poor median revenue on Steam because they're very oversaturated, easy to make, and hard to market and hard to just sell because Steam gamers don't really like platformers. They like crafty, buildy games. It's basically all you need to know. But still watch the talk because it's good. So now actually getting to the making your first game part. I'm not actually going to be talking about like the technical part because this is a mindset video. You're going to want to make a super simple game that where you're like, oh man, but this is too easy, right? This is like so easy that I can't even like mess this up potentially, right? But this is so simple. Like I made a fishing game as my first actual Steam release game because I made like a little game jam project of a fishing game. Like I just called the project Fishin' with like a little apostrophe at the end. And it was so easy to make, and I was like, I could add lots of features to this potentially. That would like make it an actual game. Just add more content, and this is an actual fun game. And before then I was working on like this shooter game, and it was just kind of a mess, and it wasn't fun, and just you want to make something that's fun from the get-go and really simple. So a fishing game would be a great example because you're just waiting and there's just a random number generator that makes the game fun because it's just gambling really. It's just a gambling game. I make a game that's essentially just gambling. It's actually pretty good game design advice for the first game because gambling is just fun. Like not actual gambling of course, but like gambling games. Like there's a reason all old time mini games and kids games were like, oh yeah, it's just roulette because it's just exciting, and that's why fishing games work. But little tangent aside. So I'd recommend you make this super simple game in a very short amount of time. So like a month for, I made my first game in 2 months, then I did early access for 6 months. That was a mistake. Should have probably just made it in 4 months, then released it, or 8 months even, and then released it, and having a demo out instead of doing early access, because that's way more effective. and you can just update your demo. Just treat your demo as early access, so if it'll all been cut down on the content side, and then you're good. Like then you can just do the early access. I'm just planning out my release stuff. You know, you can just do that, but easier. So make a small game. Shouldn't take you more than like 1-2 months to make. Probably maybe 3 months because you lack experience still. Might take you a little longer. So if you do that, then you should be like solid. Now a bit of advice for like how you actually want to make this game instead of just how you want to, like how you should lay out your day making this game is you kind of want to go monk mode. So monk mode is this stupid like word that business guys on YouTube made up. Business guys on YouTube are shady a lot of the time, but I like this word because I don't know, it sounds stupid and funny, so that's why it's good. But yeah, go monk mode. And essentially, so what I do, I'm not in this stage of game development anymore, but I'm still basically doing the very simple, like, I just want to work on games as much as possible thing. So I wake up at 3 a.m. And in this case, you would probably have work or school, so because you're not making full-time money from game development yet. So you're gonna want to wake up at 3 a.m., go to bed at 7 p.m., not do anything fun, basically, just pay attention to your health, like workout and like maybe meditate, just do healthy things, and just do whatever healthy things you need to do to stay alive, eat healthy food, stuff like that. Be boring as shit, basically. Just be the most boring person you know. And you wake up at 3 a.m., you work on the game for 3-4 hours, then you do your schoolwork stuff, because all your best focus goes to your game instead of your school work. And if you do want to do this for the rest of your life, which is totally possible, making money in game dev isn't that hard, really. Like making enough to live off of at least. Like making oodles of money, very difficult. And I mean, making a little bit is also very hard, which is why you have to wake up at 3 a.m. and like work on it for 3 hours a day and like lots of hassle and total focus. Of course, you don't want to be watching YouTube while you're working up for these 3 hours because these are very important hours, right? So if you just do this for a while and just hyper focus on this for like 1 year, it took me about 1.5 years, I think, to get enough money going to be able to move out and like stop working a normal job. I mean, I didn't move and work a normal job. I lived with my parents for a while because I'm young still. I could just do that. So I'm making about $1,000 a month right now off of a game. At least I made a game that made about $1,000 per month I worked on it, or euros, I guess. But it's making a little more now still. So like it's still collecting money. It's probably gonna be like 1.2 thousand per month working on it or some shit. That's pretty decent for like working on something like being in game dev properly for like 2-ish years of experience by then. So you're just gonna want to do this for 1 to 2 games, this like monk mode period, and then you can do game dev for the rest of your life. So you just sacrifice. This will be really fun because game dev is pretty fun if you're the right type of person. If you just hate game dev, probably don't do this. But yeah, so just do this for like 1 to 2 years. I actually worked really poorly for this entire time because I was in my parents' house. I was kind of like, model, it was kind of busy. I couldn't really focus. So I worked about 3 hours a day as well. So it's not like I worked all day there. So I probably worked about as much as you would if doing the waking up 3 a.m., going to bed at 7 thing. So basically, my point is, if you do this, then you could totally like do this for a year, and then you're good for the rest of your life, money-wise, because you can just keep making games, and then you'll keep making more money. You can also move back in with your parents if you just want to hyper focus on game development, and if they're cool with that, and also if they're cool people, if they're like really jerks, don't do that probably. But just move back in for a while, or if you still live with your parents, then great, but you probably have school, so further option one. And just focus there on game dev. I couldn't really focus that well with my parents, so I kind of moved out as soon as I could. So third option, if you don't want to do the first two cool options where you super turbo focus, just stop using social media. It'll save you like 1 to 2 hours a day, and then you can probably like get out of living with your parents in like 1 year-ish. Maybe the other two are probably quicker if you're like neurotypical. I got some situations going on in my brain, autism, so that made it kind of hard living with my parents because like the input kind of messed with me. But if you're neurotypical, I bet you can easily do it like 6 months. Like making $1,000 a month isn't that hard if you really hyper focus. You don't do anything else basically. Totally do that in 6 months. If you move in with your parents and you're neurotypical, you can easily do this in like maybe even 3 months. Nah, maybe not three. Maybe like four, 4 to 8 probably. And if you have work or school, probably like 6 to 12. If you just stop using social media, probably 12 to 24. Well, it's like 1 to 2 years. So you can just stop using social media, save some time, just work more on games, stop playing games as much, and then you'll probably save about 1 to 3 hours a day. And probably not three. I don't know. Depending on how much you're using social media, maybe three. Then sell it on Steam. Even if you don't think it's that great, still sell it on Steam because that's really important. Have a demo out first. Do the marketing stuff. He explains in the marketing talk and his other of the marketing man. He has a lot of free stuff, so you can just do it completely off of that. And then it will probably not do that well because it's your first game and you're not that good at it yet. Depending on how long you stuck around in our community, you might have learned a lot and you can make a great game the first time around, but probably not. I'm not making the greatest games ever yet, of course. Like I've been doing this for 2 years. I'm making like good games, not perfect masterpieces. So I haven't made like Hollow Knight money, of course. I've just made like enough money. So yeah, basically, if you want to make enough money, follow this guide. If you want to make Hollow Knight money, ask the Hollow Knight devs. They'll probably tell you go to school for game. I'm not actually sure what their history is, but they probably did some crazy shit to get that good. Going to school for game dev is the whole scam, though. By the way, I don't recommend that. Because you can just be making games in that time. So and you'll also not be making money probably, but you will actually be making games, getting the actual experience of making a game. So basically, then make 1 to 2 more games in this like method. So make another 1 to 2 games in like 2 to 6 months, probably more like 2 to 4 months of dev time for each game. You don't want to think like, oh well, I made a decent game now. It didn't do great sales wise. That's my case. Like Open Fishing, pretty fun game. Didn't do great sales wise because I messed up my marketing and it's not that marketable of a game. So that was probably why I didn't do great sales wise. But people liked it, so that's cool. Anyway, my main point was your first game's probably gonna bomb, and then your second or third game might do well enough that you can move out and then move into a super cheap place. So if you're young, you can just move into. I moved to Germany. I used to live in the Netherlands. Moved to Germany. Rent is super cheap here. It's like $400 a month, and that's not even the cheapest rent. You can get rent for like $200-300 a month here. If you speak Romanian, stay in Romania or move to Romania. Ooh, they have cheap housing. Just don't go outside and work an insane amount of hours. Well, do go outside on like walks and stuff. I live in a pretty beautiful area. But just focus on games. Don't go out. Don't do that kind of stuff. Just focus on making games. I work about 6 hours on a bad day, 10 hours on a good day now. So that's a pretty good amount. Most days are good days as well, so that's nice. I really like having moved out of here. Out of my parents' house and now living here. Pretty cool. So then you make more small games. So you just keep making small projects. So you don't want to make your masterpiece right away. Like the How to Market a Game Guide showed this slide of like 2001: A Space Odyssey. I forgot the director, but the director of that was his 11th movie, and he started with Piranha 2 or something. I don't think it was Piranha 2 actually. I think it was another movie, but like something so lame, just the lamest movie before he made and that was like 11 movies ago compared to when he directed 2001, which is like masterpiece according to lots of people, best movie ever, yada yada yada. That's like the delta. You want to make like so many projects before you make your masterpiece, because otherwise your masterpiece is gonna suck and then you'll be disappointed. So now I am here. I am still at the point where I'm making small games, just trying to get better at game design and working like 6 to 10 hours a day on games. Maybe I'll increase my work amount if I find ways to like streamline the rest of my life. But yeah. So I'm also doing the charity community thing where I'm building a community of people making games for charity, as I said. That's just something I'm really passionate about. So that's really why I got into game dev. Well, not why I got into it, but why I'm staying in game dev. Is I want to build this community, make bajillions amounts of monies for charity, and hopefully I can become the best boy ever. So my point being, like, this is my big life purpose. I want to do this so badly that I'm very much incentivized to work as many hours as possible. But you could probably get away with working like 6 hours a day if you want to. making games, and you'll get better and better at making games. So you'll maybe like eventually need to work like way less than that to make like enough money to live off of, and you can do the 4 hour work week thing maybe eventually. I don't know. I have no idea how to do that. I don't know how to move beyond this point of making small games at 6 to 10 hours. My plan is to just keep doing this for a while, slowly increase the size of the games I'm making, and probably just get just about enough money to buy an apartment here because that's really cheap as well. And then my monthly cost would be lower, and I could just like, and that money doesn't just disappear if you just buy a house in cash. So I'm basically just trying to get like 30, 40 grand right now, and then buying a place, then focusing basically 100% on charity, and then we'll see how big that can get. And I'll probably need donations, something like that. I'm not sure how I'm gonna finance myself yet. Not important yet right now. So basically, after you make it big, after you make a huge game that's super cool, and my community helped you out while learning game dev, and you stuck around and stuff, you could totally, you should totally actually, you shouldn't go buy a Lamborghini. You shouldn't do all this stupid rich person stuff, which I don't think you probably want to do anyway because you're a gamer, I'm guessing, and gamers aren't really, I want the Lamborghini type people. But if you are, don't do that. It won't make you that happy. Because there has already been stuff you said, oh, if I have this thing, I will be happy. And then you had the thing, and you were like, oh, hey, yeah, I just have this thing now, like 2 weeks later. So it's not worth it. You'll be the same with a Lamborghini. I've heard from rich people who bought a Lamborghini. I know about a Lamborghini. I do not have Lamborghini money. But yeah, so my point being, don't go live lavish. Donate it to charity or help us or do both. So like donate it to charity, and ideally you would help out our community by, for example, if you made a successful game, you could like ask us, hey, you want to make a spin-off? And then we will make a game, like a spin-off game all in the same franchise. So we have like your clout goes to charity basically. You don't even have to donate any money. You could just like say, oh yeah, you can make a game in that franchise, and I'll have to like give the A-OK to release it, of course. So like make sure you're not making a bad game in the franchise so it doesn't hurt the brand. And you could just like let us make a game in that. We would make more money for charity. I don't make money off of the project at the moment. Nor would I like make money off the games. The games will always go 100% to charity. Maybe I'll have like donations, but those would also mostly go back into the project. Because I only need like 10 grand a month. Not a month, not a month, not a month. A year, 10 grand a year right now. Inflation, of course, is of course annoying, but like currently I need like 10,000 a year to live off of, is my estimate. So I'm hoping just like to get like enough donation money to cover that, and then I can just do this the entire life of the rest of my life actually. So if you want to help with that and help donate insane amount of money to charity, please make a huge game and let us make another game in that series, like a spin-off or like even a sequel. If you just don't care anymore, you could have the design even, and that would be really fun for you. Please let us make a game once you've made it big, because you are going to make it big if you do these things. If you spend like 10 hours a day making games, like the entire day basically, you'll have a great time, mind you. Like you won't be like suffering at all. Game dev is fun, and you can make enough money that you don't need to work anymore really for the rest of your life. Because if you look at like small indie games, they make enough money to do that most of the time. Not small indie games, but like mid-sized indie games. You could just like make a game a year, and if it does well enough, like you could easily live off that for the rest of your life. But my point being, what was my point again? Oh yeah, please help us out after you made it, because that would be really cool. Because this is my life goal, to grow this into the biggest thing it could be. So I think that's it. That's all I know for now. I don't know how to get bigger than this. I don't know how to make like a AAA studio or like become a publisher. That's not something I've looked into yet. I'm probably never going to be a publisher because I don't really have the money for that. I can't really give someone money in order to make a game and then take a bit of that money, because I don't have the money to start with, because that's all gone to charity already. So that's kind of an issue with becoming a publisher for me. But if you want to become a publisher, that's like an avenue you can take if you grow bigger. And you can also grow a studio, which I've also not done. I'm about to work on a game with a friend of mine, but I haven't started that yet, so I don't know how to do that either. It's going to be a small game still, but it's going to be like, I needed a graphic designer for it, and they're a graphic designer, so that seemed like a good idea to me. So that's my plan right now. That's hopefully your plan now, is to wake up at like 3 a.m. and go to bed at 7. That's literally what I do, and you just like make games like a madman or woman or mad person. Want to be inclusive here. That's not a joke. I'm actually pretty progressive. It kind of sounded like sarcastic remark, but no, yeah, progressive guy here. If you're trans or something, please join the community. It's just I want anyone to join because it's so cool to like make games together for charity and learn, and oh, it's so sick. Um, so my point being, cool. You should listen to me because I made games and I can learn you how to make games. And I'm rambling at this point, so I'm just repeating the list I have on my notes here. So I'm probably gonna finish the video and have a nice day. It's a pretty long video, so thank you for watching it all the way through.